I only came 10 minutes early. That's all. Just 10 minutes. But the moment I stepped into Sunny Day's daycare that afternoon, I felt wrong. The air was different, thick in a way I couldn't place. It wasn't just the smell of crayons or snack time, it was colder somehow, almost like the building itself was holding its breath. I paused at the door, my hand on the handle, and that's when I noticed it, the doors were locked. Not in the way a daycare locks at closing time, but locked as if someone wanted to make sure no one left, or no one came in. But before we continue, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell for updates. I called out softly, "Hello? I'm here for Ethan." My voice sounded hollow. Then I saw her, Clara, the girl at the front desk. She was 22, young, fresh-faced, the kind of person who usually greets parents with a smile. But when she saw me, she froze. Her hand hovered above the keyboard, fingers stiff. Her eyes went wide, and for a moment, I thought she might scream. Behind her, every single teacher stopped what they were doing mid-step. Ms. Fields, Mr. Lopez, Ms. Rivera, they all just stopped. One of them, almost imperceptibly, turned the open sign around. The cheerful letters now faced the wall. I felt my stomach knot. I wasn't imagining it. Something was off. And then Ethan ran toward me. My 6-year-old, my little boy who normally barrels into my arms like a tiny hurricane, skidded to a stop. He didn't hug me. He didn't smile. His small hand grabbed my wrist, his grip tight, almost urgent. His eyes were wide, scanning the room, and then he whispered, barely audible, "Mom, don't say my real name." My heart stopped. Don't say his real name? What did that mean? And why was he scared of me? Of all people? My mind raced. Had I missed something? Had he been hiding something from me all along? Then the director appeared. Mr. Jameson, mid-40s, tall and imposing, with an expression so neutral it was frightening. He didn't look at me. Not once. He looked past me, as though I wasn't even standing there. "That name isn't on his record," he said. Just like that, flat and matter of fact. And that was the moment I realized this day wouldn't end like any other. Something was happening at Sunny Days. Something about my son. Something about his name. And whatever it was, I had no idea how deep it went. I tried the door again. It didn't budge. Not even a crack. My heart thumped louder in my chest than I'd ever heard it before. I glanced around, and that's when I really noticed the silence. Not the kind of quiet where children are napping or concentrating on a puzzle. This was different, heavy, unnatural. The usual hum of activity at Sunny Day's daycare, the chatter, the clatter of blocks, the squeal of laughter. It was gone. Every adult in the room was frozen, staring, waiting, watching me like I had suddenly become a stranger in a place I knew better than anyone. Clara, at the front desk, was practically paralyzed. Her fingers hovered over the computer, then dropped to her lap, trembling slightly. Behind her, Ms. Fields, who usually bustled about handing out snacks, was halfway through picking up a cup and just stopped. Mr. Lopez, who always joked with the kids, was staring at the wall. Ms. Rivera, the youngest teacher, had her mouth slightly open, but no sound came out. Then I noticed the small gesture, almost invisible, but one teacher quietly turned the open sign around so it faced the wall. It felt deliberate, as if they didn't want anyone seeing it. Ethan tugged at my wrist again, pulling me slightly forward, his small fingers gripping me as if he were afraid I might vanish. I bent down, trying to coax a smile, asking softly, "Hey buddy, what's wrong?" But he shook his head, his voice trembling, "Mom, don't say my real name." My chest tightened. Don't say it? But why? This wasn't a game. This was my son, terrified of something, or maybe someone, in his own school. I glanced at the staff again. They avoided my eyes, their body language stiff and defensive. One teacher muttered something under their breath, but the words didn't make sense. Everyone seemed caught between panic and obedience, like they were waiting for instructions from some invisible authority. I tried to call for the director, my voice rising. That's when he appeared. Mr. Jameson stepped out from the hallway, tall, unshakable, like he had been expecting this exact moment. His eyes didn't meet mine. His words were sharp, cold, and deliberate. That name isn't on his record. I opened my mouth to argue, to insist that Ethan's name was Ethan Parker, that I had been his mother for 6 years, but Ethan's hand shot out, pressing against my lips. His eyes, wide and frightened, locked with mine. "Mom, don't say it," he whispered again. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Something about this place wasn't right. I knew I had walked into something far bigger than a simple clerical error. And the truth, whatever it was waiting just behind that locked door. I knew something was very wrong, but I had no idea how deep it went. Every instinct I had as a mother screamed at me, something about Ethan's name, about this daycare, wasn't right. I tried to keep my voice calm as I asked Clara, "Why is my son not listed under his real name?" Her eyes darted to the floor. She mumbled something that didn't make sense, a mix of syllables that sounded like a warning. Don't go there." I glanced behind her. The teachers were still frozen, stiff as if caught in mid-motion. Ms. Field's hand hovered above a stack of papers. Mr. Lopez shifted from one foot to the other but didn't move closer. Ms. Rivera seemed ready to run but couldn't. Even the children were quieter than usual, glancing nervously at Ethan and then at me. I felt the room shrink around us. Ethan tugged at my sleeve again. "Mom, promise me you won't say my real name. Please." His small voice was trembling, almost cracking. My chest tightened. How could my 6-year-old be afraid of his own identity? I swallowed hard and whispered, "Why, Ethan? Why?" But he wouldn't answer. He only buried his face in my arm. I tried to reason with the director. "Mr. Jameson, this has to be a mistake. My son's name is Ethan Parker. He's been coming here for months." He didn't flinch. His eyes were empty, unreadable. "We don't keep his real identity here. It's safer for him," he said. Safer? For him? Or for them? A memory flashed in my mind. Just last week, Ethan had told a new teacher a different name. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. But now, the pieces started clicking together. Someone, wanted him to be called something else. And the daycare staff, the people I trusted, were complicit. I looked at Ethan. His little hands were pressed to his face. He was trembling. And for the first time I realized how little control I had. The place I trusted with my child, the place I believed was safe, was keeping secrets from me. Secrets about my own son. I took a step closer to the director, my voice barely more than a whisper. "Why? What are you hiding from him? From me?" But before he could answer, Ethan's small voice cut through the room, firm and urgent. "Mom, they'll take me if they hear it." I froze. They'll take him? What did that mean? Who would take him? And why couldn't I even call him by his real name? My heart pounded, and the fear clawed at me. Something far darker than I could imagine was happening here, and Ethan was caught in the middle. I knew in that moment that finding out the truth would change everything, and I was about to step into a world where no one was as safe as they seemed. I could feel the panic rising in my chest, but I forced myself to take a slow breath. I had to confront this, had to understand why my own son was terrified of the name I had given him. "Mr. Jameson," I said, my voice shaking but firm, "I am his mother. He is Ethan Parker. Why isn't that on his record?" He didn't flinch. His eyes scanned the room, then locked on mine, but not with recognition, with cold calculation. "We cannot use that name here," he said simply. "It doesn't exist here." "For his safety." "Safety?" I repeated, my voice rising. "What are you talking about? This is my son. He's 6 years old. How could anyone think it's safe to hide his identity from me? Ethan clutched my leg, shivering, his small voice barely audible. Mom, don't say it. Please. I wanted to pull him close, to reassure him, but I couldn't. Every instinct told me that saying his real name here could unleash something terrible. I didn't understand it, but I could see the truth in his terrified eyes. I scanned the staff, desperate for answers. Ms. Fields avoided my gaze entirely. Mr. Lopez muttered, "Don't, just don't," and Ms. Rivera's hand hovered over the office door, trembling. Something was inside that room, something I was not allowed to see. I could feel it, like a pulse through the floorboards. Then I noticed it, a small keyhole on the wall behind the director, barely visible behind a fire extinguisher. Above it, a faded sign labeled a child's alternate identity. My stomach dropped. What is that? I whispered to no one in particular. Mr. Jameson's expression hardened. She doesn't know yet, he said softly, but firmly. My blood ran cold. Who? I asked, panic rising. But no one answered. Ethan's little fingers dug into my sleeve, his eyes darting nervously toward the office door. I realized then that this was bigger than just hiding a name. Whoever had orchestrated this, the daycare, the staff, the director, was protecting something. Or someone. And my son, my own child, was trapped in the middle of it. Mom. They'll know if you say it, Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. I bent down, holding his face in my hands. Tell me what's happening. But before he could answer, Mr. Jameson's cold voice cut across the room, "It's not your place to know." Not yet. I took a step back, heart hammering. The door to the office loomed in front of me, locked and foreboding. And I knew, with a sinking certainty, that opening it would change everything. But I also knew I had to. Because the truth about my son, and what this daycare had been hiding, was waiting behind that door. And what came next would shatter everything I thought I knew. I sat in the car afterward, Ethan pressed against me, silent, trembling. The weight of the day pressed down on my shoulders, heavier than anything I had ever carried. The daycare, the staff, the director, everything had felt normal until those 10 minutes turned my world upside down. I held him close, trying to comfort him, but he refused to speak his real name. Every instinct told me that somewhere inside that building, something dangerous had already taken root. I kept thinking back to the moment he whispered it to me, the way his tiny hands had gripped my wrist as if to anchor me. I realized then that the world I trusted to protect him had betrayed both of us. Not out of malice, perhaps, but out of fear, secrecy, and rules I couldn't understand. My son, my own flesh and blood, had become someone else in the eyes of everyone who was supposed to care for him. It's funny how quickly ordinary routines can twist into nightmares. 10 minutes early had been all it took. 10 minutes, and suddenly I was the outsider. Suddenly, I couldn't recognize the place where my child laughed and learned. And yet, even in my fear, I felt a flicker of something else, determination. I couldn't let this go. I couldn't allow my son's identity to be stolen by whispers and locked doors. I looked at Ethan again. His little face, pressed against my shoulder, seemed smaller somehow, as if the weight of his own secret had physically burdened him. I whispered softly, "I don't care what they say. I will remember your name. I will protect you." He didn't respond. He simply nodded, tiny shoulders trembling, eyes still wide with a mix of fear and relief. And I realized something terrifying. And yet, somehow empowering. The truth wasn't just hidden behind doors or in files. The truth was hidden in the silence, in the fear, in the things people refused to say out loud. I had glimpsed it. I had felt it. And now, I couldn't turn away. Sometimes, the people and places we trust most are hiding secrets darker than we can imagine. Sometimes, the ones we love are trapped in a system we can't see. And sometimes, even when the world tells you a name doesn't exist, you have to hold on to it. Because it is the only thing that proves they are real. I started the car, holding Ethan close. Outside, the daycare sat quiet, innocent-looking, and yet full of shadows. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, or what secrets I would uncover if I went back inside. But one thing was certain, I would not let him vanish into those shadows, and I would not let anyone rewrite who he was. And as we drove away, I couldn't help but wonder. How many other children were trapped behind doors like that, their names, their identities, their lives quietly erased by fear and secrecy?